First, we'll just be reviewing progress. You know, this is the second parent meeting, or second series of parent meetings. We had them last year as well, following the Thriving Schools survey. One of the beautiful things we have today is we've got 2 surveys now, so it's not really a totally longitudinal view, but at least we can look at progress between 2 different measures, two identical measures. And then second, we're going to share the results of this year's survey and compare them, and also update you on what the tuition is. And actually, interestingly, since this meeting was postponed, we have more information on tuition and fees than we had previously. And certainly we hope that you'll ask questions if you have, if we don't answer all. There's some rumors out there about raising rates here and there, and let me start at the outset before we even get to tuition. No rate in any place, tuition, registration fees, preschool fees, and there are no fees or tuition rates that have been increased. Everything is the same or less. And we'll describe that in detail in a moment. This past year, we had it was a busy year. We not only did these surveys, Best Christian Workplace surveys for an internal review of our systems and our working relationships, but also external Thriving Schools survey, the parent workshops and meetings that we held last year. We launched these school improvement committees. We had the state recognition visit, which is to a large extent like an accreditation visit. It seemed to preoccupy a lot of our time. And then also focus groups. We're preparing for dual accreditation. We've begun that already. And we just sent in our letter to do something kind of unique amongst Lutheran schools in the, at least the Midwest, but certainly within our district. And that's to be accredited by both the National Lutheran School Accreditation Agency or Association, and also Advanced Ed, which some of you may know under the name North Central. That's the accrediting agency for all the public schools throughout the state and most of the central U.S. We have our president of our elementary school ministry here today, Julie Barada, and we're glad you're here. And just to give you just a brief glimpse at their role in this process is they explore the possibilities. They join us in brainstorming and contemplating how we can improve our ministry, provide counsel regarding direction, evaluate our effectiveness, assist with changes in governance, and serve as a grievance panel, as well as assist us with tuition collection and financial assistance for students who need it. I mentioned those school improvement committees. We started with 4 of them basically, or 3, climate, curriculum and instruction, and marketing and admissions. And then we added governance, we've added finance, and it looks like probably in the next 60 to 90 days, these will be subdividing again, and we'll have some other additional topics that we'll be addressing. So on your tables, again, you have the conversations. And we'd like you to just think, before we talk too much at you, we'd like you to speculate for a moment what specific changes or improvements would indicate that we are succeeding as a school in school climate or curriculum from your perspective. What's on your mind? What do you think? What would you observe tomorrow that would be different from today that would be a measure of success? So that's table conversation 1. It will take just a few minutes on this, about 6 to 8 minutes, and just to get the blood flowing and the brain working, and then we'll move forward. Hopefully this isn't too hardcore in terms of the pace of things. We believe that it'll make the evening more interesting and valuable if we keep the ball rolling. And again, thanking you all for being here. I want to just point out too that we've got 3 church council members here that are intimately involved with this process of tuition setting, but in terms of policy and governance for all of our ministries together. So we've got Ann Bainey and Paula Wagner and Elaine Pizzacaro here today. And Elaine has also volunteered to help us with typing up our notes, and she's already finished all of the notes from the last meeting, so these should be out very quickly. Not to put pressure on her or anything. President of the Church Council, our chairman, Elaine. Okay, let's start with this group right back here. If we could have you just kind of report out. I've got a stoplight, traffic light on here, and this one, when I start it, it should give us 60 seconds, and then we'll applaud with great Thanksgiving following your presentation.
All right. For school climate, we said that the staff morale is going up, which is a positive, and school improvement committee creation, having small committees working on different tasks is really helpful. And then as far as curriculum, we thought the evaluation for leveled learning, having different levels at each of the grade level is improving, and we see the kids' abilities and strengths rising. We like the reading buddy system and the hands-on learning at all grade levels through preschool.
Mrs. Wayman, thank you very much. Group 2, we could refer to this group back here.
Okay, that's me. Here, I'll come this way. Okay. We said the pause program was a new implementation, but it didn't necessarily change behavior, but it maybe encouraged and motivated behavior that was already existing and maybe put a benchmark on that. And our curriculum continues to be exceptional. We talked about how there's been a reputation in the community of Trinity being excellent for a long time, and just basing that on what comes out of the high schools and the accolades that they receive from other organizations besides Trinity after they leave here. And maybe the addition of Common Core, not that we've accepted it verbatim, but that we've made it our own with our religious beliefs so that it is what they're doing in the public school, but above and beyond, and also encouraging, obviously, why they come here in the first place for a religious education.
Thank you very much. The third group here.
We talked about that the communication has improved, both with the teachers and the office. The school surveys were something that they really liked. Curriculum, that the homework strategies, loves the homework strategies, and coordinating with test schedules in middle school, and that the middle school department talks every week about what we're going to do and talks about students, and I think that's it.
Well, very succinct groups. Thank you very much for your input today. So you're actually hearing some things that actually arose, some initiatives that arose from the surveys last year. In addition, I don't know if maybe one of you mentioned those parent coffees. That came out of it to enhance communication with parents as partners. So you may not find another school that has 2 parent coffees in the mornings per month, where they have an opportunity to address either the pastor or principal and other leaders of our church, ESM members and church council members who are present in the Family Life Center. Our intention is to keep that going. We might turn one of those into a little bit more of a working session, I'm hearing from some, but nonetheless, we want that to remain a great vehicle for communication. We also launched the wine and cheese receptions, and we plan to have more of those. There have been 2 so far this year, and those arose from the survey of last year. And tuition, of course, which we'll be getting to, was something that was a concern that was raised as far as how we address the tuition rate schedule. So, highlights from our survey this year. And thank you, by the way, for your responses. Again, I mentioned earlier there have been 2 full years of survey data. We received the information from this survey, the initial information, and more is still coming in or has come in recently, and over 100 pages of data from the survey to help us address our strategies for the future. Myself and ESM and staff will review the results in detail over the next few weeks. We're having a special meeting with the ESM in particular to look at the data. Some results don't need much interpretation. Among the greatest improvement are the highest scores, and this is really gratifying for me as a called teacher within the ministry of our church to see that religion class not only improved, but it remains high in terms of the scale score from the survey. Christ-centered environment, again, 89. There were no scores on the survey that exceeded these 2 categories. And these 2 are right in there with the highest, moral and spiritual guidance and modeling the Christian faith, which went from a 78 last year to an 87 as we look at that scale score. So again, wonderful. There are really only 2 other categories that fell within this group. So, and those were academic performance and well, we'll get to those. So survey results, highs and lows. Family increasingly chose Trinity School for its academic excellence, its reputation in the community, and its affiliation with Trinity. Tuition costs and financial assistance from the church were rated lower, but important as far as deciding where to go to school. Classroom cleanliness, attractiveness, and maintenance of the building interior has not improved or has slightly declined. When we say slightly, we're talking on a scale of 1 to 100, maybe 1 or 2 points whenever we use the term slightly. So pretty much level. I think we're going to see a major jump in that as we move into next fall and we have our roof repair completed and all the ceiling tiles replaced and other things. But it goes beyond that. Recently, we've partnered with staff. We've talked a little bit about ways to improve in the school office and with the maintenance staff. And we're excited about some of those new developments. Overall satisfaction index for Trinity families who participated in the survey is higher than last year, 79 versus a 74 last year. And more families report that they're returning next year. That was a 70 last year, and we had a decline in enrollment. This time it's an 83. So that's very encouraging as well as a small 8th grade class leaving with 22 students and a large kindergarten class coming in. We're very hopeful about the numbers for next fall. One other statistic that is not on this report is that the scale score for parents' feelings about whether they had a problem to deal with last year, and that's actually 80 that report no problem that they had to deal with of any kind as a parent connected to Trinity Lutheran School this past year. The lows, satisfaction with the principal school office has remained virtually the same, 70 versus a 71. And we're actually, as we're reading through these things, we've been meeting and discussing ways to improve our office operations, particularly the speed of communication, the quality of the communication, and attention to emails and phone messages. Highs, teacher style in the classroom, interaction with students and parents, and communication have all seen increases in the last year, especially openness to parent input. And you can see that went from a 68 to a 79. That was one of the highest or greatest changes. Tuition fairness issues, just a question about the weighting of tuition is the way we looked at that. Continue to be a challenge for parents, including multi-child discounts, general tuition policy, and fairness of the increases. This, from my understanding, historically has gone different directions where we should assist that third child more, or we should assist the first child more. But in this case, one of the more exciting things, almost more exciting than the outcome of the tuition for me as an administrator, is the fact that so many people work together collaboratively to arrive at a solution related to tuition. So we had parent input. We actually interviewed principals in other schools. We collected data from schools throughout the area. We looked at marketing information. We looked at census trend data and public school enrollment figures. And a lot of that research was done by parent volunteers, like those in the School Improvement Committee for Governance and Finance. And folks like Josh Ebert, it's a mistake to always start mentioning names and you leave someone out, but Don Valesky and Dave Vance and David Kelly and Josh Ebert made significant contributions of time and effort to collect data for us. Survey respondents continue to cite improvements in academic subjects, curriculum, motivating students to excel, and maintaining high standards. While improving satisfaction with online tools, issues continue to be scored at the lowest levels of all areas surveyed, low 60s in both years. We feel like we've implemented some improvements going this year, but obviously it's still on the radar. Our attention won't be limited to just low scores, but even pushing those areas of greatness to the yet higher levels as we move forward. Other things to celebrate, and these are some pretty exceptional scores. Recognition of our high academic standards was an 88 this year. By the way, an 88, to get an 88, you must, you remember if you did the survey, you selected 1 through 10. A 9 selected if that were the average score, that would come out about an 87 to an 88, depending upon where it fell to the exact percent. So that's pretty significant. And then recognition that Trinity prepares students well for high school, 88 versus 80. And we actually have a team of a couple of parents that are working on helping us to fine-tune the success of our students, rather than just anecdotally looking at. We know we've got success story after success story after success story, but we're looking to define that conclusively in terms of to what degree we are successful over and against, if you will, our competitors in terms of other middle schools in the area that feed either Lake Park, Schaumburg, Bartlett, Glenbard, the other schools where our students attend. More good news. There were 126 performance standards, and out of 126, let me think, I'm just doing the math quick in my head here. Yeah, 126. 108 actually improved. I think that's kind of a remarkable outcome. And 12 declined, again, for the most part, 1 or 2 points, so largely they were flat, and there were 6 who were exactly the same as the previous year. So great results overall. The survey was initiated by Trinity to serve as a baseline evaluation with 4 purposes in mind: to reflect Trinity's commitment to research-based improvement plans, which I don't see ever ending. You know, we never reach perfection, do we? And we find there's continual research and education. We find more and more ways to continue to improve. And also, as you read behind the politics of the NCLB and the Common Core curriculum and these kinds of things, you'll see that what schools in the public sector have decided is that they've been about a grade level lower than what the students' potential was. It's almost like they took a look over at the Lutheran schools, other parochial schools, and said, they could do it, why can't we? That's probably, I presume that's not their motivation, but it's interesting that they're either catching up or attempting to go past our performance. To improve the school partnership climate and open new conversation channels between parents, faculty, and church and school leadership. To provide a channel of communication for parents. To develop an annual measurement of progress so that we live what we say is our commitment to accountability to parents and to congregation members and the leadership of this ministry. So we have 4 commitments arising from the survey. An action plan based on survey responses that I'll initiate. The School Improvement Committee, formed as a partnership between our administration, parents, and teachers, will continue to work for the advancement of our school ministry. They have a very, very aggressive set of goals and objectives already for the future. And Monday night, they're meeting, one of the subcommittees is meeting to look at particularly admissions and marketing and promotion. 3 or 4 improvement areas will be identified annually for immediate action, and we'll publicize those. Future budgets and program emphases will reflect these concerns voiced in the survey responses. So we're going to take time for you to talk again, because as I mentioned, these school improvement committees continue to, let me underscore this. I imagine everyone in this room has been on a committee at one time or another where you met in September and you came back in October and nothing had been accomplished. And you wondered, why am I doing this? And maybe you got great ideas, but they didn't go anywhere. And with these school improvement committees, that's the opposite. Without our fierce direction to them, they are so passionate and so motivated to work and to assist and to be partners in this ministry that they're meeting once, twice, and sometimes 3 times in between, and maybe more actually back in December and January, between those monthly meetings. Some of them are just so aggressive, but all of them are committed to making a difference and producing tangible results. So you should be really proud of that aspect of this ministry, that, and also thank God for His blessing on these folks. So for this table conversation, we're just saying what priorities should be addressed by the school improvement committees. Let's think for a second. They'd like to know what you think they should be working on, and let's give that another 6 to 8 minutes. Just for sure, we want you to know that the phone line is always open. That while your time is limited today, this is meant to be a way to stimulate ideas, very specific ideas we can use today, but also to encourage you to continue contemplating excellence for our ministry. We have exceptional staff in our faculty here at the school, as well as support staff, and they can do a wonderful job, but we just believe that if we bring the expertise and passions of parents and congregation members and other leaders to this work, that we can be even better. We're a relatively small group of folks on the professional staff, and we really relish and really appreciate sincerely the input of others. So if ideas come to mind, don't hesitate to email or call our school office at any time. Let's hear in reverse order from this group.
We talked about updating the textbooks on a regular basis, making sure that we have relevant and updated material for the kids in all grade levels, and just seeing that happen more often. We also discussed being more visible at community events. We know that we do a couple parades and things like that, but since we're in such a residential area, getting our name out there at these events more often might be helpful. And the other suggestion that was made at our table was possibly adding a building improvement committee to look at issues like the roof and the heating and the physical climate of the building.
Thank you very much. Group 2.
I get to talk again. Okay. Well, you must have been listening to our conversation because we said that we said we new curriculum or just curriculum to keep up with all the changes in Common Core, some sort of textbooks maybe, or some resources that we have so that we are all consistent and up to speed. And then we also said more marketing, and we mentioned that I guess there's a billboard on Lake Street in Springfield from the Christmas program, possibly putting something with the school on that, because it still says Christmas, which obviously is past. And maybe we could, so they must have paid for that for a period of time, maybe we could change that to utilize it for our school since we're paying for it anyway. And possibly getting a marketing person who really can champion us and be at those events and know when they are, kind of thing. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think we were eavesdropping on each other. We kind of focused on kind of one major thought, and that was the building as a whole, considering looking at everything from decor to the overall status to specific things, in each area that needs to be improved. So we just think that we need to have a committee that has a fresh pair of eyes and a fresh set of lenses that is looking at the building as a whole. Obviously the roof tiles are part of it as well, but the roof repair as well as the ceiling tiles, and there's some heating issues, but that there's some sections of the building that are new and some that are older. So it looks, I think, we need a global focus on the building as a whole. If you stop and just look in this room, you could identify easily, quick 10 things that probably could be done that could just freshen this up. So that was our major focus.
Thank you. I think it's important, and the school improvement committees to a large extent have this posture, but that when we come up with ideas, that we keep in mind that when we make our suggestion, it's not a criticism, but it's a celebration of possibilities. As you call the school and say, I've got an idea, it'd be great if that wasn't prefaced with, I don't know why you don't, or what's wrong that you haven't, but rather, I got an idea, why don't you guys give some thought to, or here are some possibilities for the future in this area. Something just came to mind. Have you checked into this? And let's be joy-filled together as we work towards progress and improving. This school does have a terrific reputation right now today for a reason. We just want to ensure that we are in fact second to none, and that we continue to aspire for greatness and improvement no matter where we find ourselves on the continuum. We're going to look at tuition. I'm sure none of you came here for this, but if you could tolerate this section on tuition. These came out of one of the improvement committees, these statements: strong school, strong church. The goal of making school affordable. Competitive tuition makes it possible to attract new students. When you see our tuition rates, you'll find that we're not going to be the lowest price in the village or in the area or even in the region. And from a marketing perspective, that's not necessarily the goal. But we did find, as we did our studies, that we were out of sync significantly in a couple of areas where our relationship on first child to, if you will, competitors or other ministries, compared to our relationship between third child and other ministries, is significantly different. We'll see that momentarily. So one is our partnership together. We refer to and have referred to in the past our three-legged stool between church, school, and family. And all for the sake of growing our children into Christian disciples. For a child to be educated and raised in the Christian faith, a partnership is necessary. This partnership is the only reason Trinity Lutheran Church supports its schools so strongly. Our partnership requires us to work together to lift up every child. Each of us needs to bring our best to the game, to the task. Trinity will support the education of all children to some extent, but we will always support the member families at a higher level than non-member families. A basic part of membership in a church is worship of God together, fulfilling our vows as parents and congregation that we made to God and to one another at our children's baptisms. And you know, every time there's a baptism at Trinity, all of us seated there are involved in the liturgy, not just to be a part of the liturgy, but to demonstrate, to restate our commitment to these children. When we say support our members at a higher level than non-member families, you're going to see a great adjustment in the non-member family rate to bring this all into sync. You know that we charge non-members a large premium compared to member families, but we also do not charge them the total cost of education. So every child attending Trinity has a benefit and support from this church and this ministry. Trinity members partner with parents, following God's commandments, living up to our commitments. Partners worship together with their children. Trinity does its best to keep costs low and still maintain and grow our church and school ministry. Our goal in all things is to accomplish our mission, to connect people with Christ, community, their calling, our servanthood in the world. And to that end, we look at the rates. And to set that rate, we looked at these factors: what programs are needed, staff salary comparisons, numerous marketing studies, school enrollment and tuition trends amongst public and private schools in the area, interviews. This isn't an interview with me, but me interviewing other principals. You see, one of the reasons for that interview is that when we compare tuition rates, we recognize, and we're still studying this, that not all schools include as much in their rates as Trinity does. We found no one that includes as much. But nonetheless, we want to know what other fees they have so we know the total net comparison. So for instance, some may charge for all field trips. We charge for no field trips, except 8th grade paid a $100 non-refundable deposit for their trip this year. And the yearbook is included in our fees, and on and on and on. There's a number of things that are included where other schools charge a fee for that. Confirmed foundation support, the best Christian workplace, and the thriving school surveys. So these all gave us information, parental input, and then this was the work of Josh Ebert, significant census trend data work to look at trends in the numbers of young children in our community. We considered the risk of lowering tuition, thinking if we lower tuition, we may not have the necessary enrollment increase to offset the reduction in income. We considered the risk of raising tuition, that if we raise tuition, there could be a possible decline in enrollment. Nearly more exciting than the rates we are about to announce is a partnership that led to the final numbers, and I've mentioned these groups before. So the first thing is, whether you're a member or a non-member, the first child's tuition rate stays the same as last year. Frankly, last year there was a gift from the foundation of $150 to offset the tuition. That increase in tuition has moved forward. That's the $4,645, but it's not raising from there. And since it was subsidized last year, we're providing a subsidy this year, tuition's flat now for a third year, where they're not having to pay more money out of pocket. The Trinity Roselle Foundation will continue their policy of addressing tuition costs for parents with a credit of $200. Now, last Thursday, we told them that there's a credit guaranteed by the Church Council, but the foundation had a special meeting last week, Wednesday, and so this is very new information that they approved covering it all from the foundation. This is per family. So as you're kind of working numbers in your head, how many people here have more than one child in the school? Okay, so you know for this, if you get a $200 credit per family, and you had $150 per student last year, that was $300 for 2 children. That's $100 less. However, we'll see here we're reducing the tuition for the second child and the third child significantly more than that difference. We have increased support for the second and third child, and there was a rumor for a moment that the fourth child was going to be charged for it. It's never been on the table, except to confirm that it's still free. If you have 4 children here, tuition would be free. And that's not consistent throughout our area, by the way. Even in the very near Lutheran schools in our western suburbs that are within a 6-mile radius of us. There are several that are still charging for fourth child. For 2 children, it's a $610 decrease. Again, last year, if you had $150 per child, that was a $300 gift rebate from the foundation. This year is $200, so it's $100 less. That would reduce the $610 decrease, which means you're still saving $510, even with the change in the way we allocate that money. The reason we allocated it per family is because we're giving significant decreases for second and third, and the first child wasn't getting any consideration on the tuition side. So we wanted to make sure those with 1 child, and that includes those with 2 and 3, doesn't it? All of them, but those with 1 only, that they would get a greater benefit. For 2 children in a community member family, their tuition would go down $1,260 from $13,940 last year to $12,680. Can you read that okay right there? So you can see a pretty significant discount for 2. Again, more discount for the second child, primarily because as we studied other Lutheran schools in the area, we were several $1,000s higher in this category. And we thought it's one thing to be the most expensive with the best program, but it's another thing to be so expensive that, in one case, it was possible almost possible for a person to send 3 children to a school for the price of 1 here. So we're trying to bring these more into sync a little bit. We've just been a little too aggressive on raising, perhaps from one perspective, the rates for the second and third child. There's a $1,915 decrease for 3 or more member children from $12,835 to $10,920. So if you're paying the non-member rate and you have 3 children, if you combine these, you've got a pretty significant discount. And a $3,605 decrease in 3 or more children from community member families. Those families with 3 children were paying over $20,000 to send their children here, and that's dropped to 17. That's still probably a couple thousand more than our nearest competitor. Hate to call them competitors. I consider these guys partners in ministry as well, but if you can follow me at least. Parents have to make decisions. Do you have questions about these last 2 slides, anyone? Did I go too quickly? We're good? And then to put it in writing, that 4th child's free. And our last table conversation, and it looks like we're ahead of schedule. We're doing well. I'd like you to just contemplate, talk a little bit about the tuition. Table conversation 3 is, do you understand and agree with Trinity's tuition plan for next year? What are some ways we can effectively share the Trinity opportunities? So there's kind of a marketing promotion question and one related to finance. As you went into your small group discussions a moment ago, we were talking about our school already being great. In the Monday principal update, I'll have a short article talking, and I think it's, curriculum, might be the trekking side, I don't recall, but I'm reflecting on the fact that right now I've been through a period of doing formal observations of teachers, and I just want you to know, each of you individually, and I'd encourage you to share with others, this is a remarkable place when it comes to environments conducive to learning. You may hear about other places where they've got strategies that are remarkable. Perhaps find one that we don't have. Doesn't mean it's better. But at Trinity, I can tell you, as I go from classroom to classroom, whether it's preschool or 8th grade, that the students are engaged in learning. And when teachers finish an introduction to a lesson and students go to small groups or independent learning, you would think it was a university classroom. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you, even preschool. Those kids go to their stations, or the other rooms that some of you are here, I've visited your classrooms. They're very motivated and very focused. And I know, I want to credit teachers for a remarkable job of classroom management and instilling motivation, but I know it's the full partnership. It's God's work, as well as ours in the school, as well as parents, and what you do to raise these children to be motivated, and the way you hold them accountable, or whatever it is that you're doing. You guys couldn't celebrate more. You have reason to be fully invested in the celebration of what a wonderful opportunity these kids have to learn because of what's going on today. So whatever the lesson, the content, the skill, the strategy for instruction, it's going to work better at Trinity, whether it's Common Core, the oldest traditional method you can possibly imagine in your mind. It's going to work better at Trinity because the kids are in an environment conducive to learning and they're engaged in the process. It's really a remarkable thing to observe. So let's start. Okay, you want to applaud that? Just applaud our teachers and parents. Okay, right here, your group.
Okay, we just had a little discussion about where the money will come from to make up the money that we're not charging in tuition, how that will play out on the backside. Will there be a deficit, or where will the money come from that the school needs to pay their bills, basically? And then we talked about ways we could effectively share getting a marketing contact at our school other than the teaching staff, so that there's a consistent person who can build those relationships and repeatedly check in and give all the tours and give this hard statistics and the numbers that accompany the dollar amount.
Thank you very much.
We thought, and we have 2 members on church council here, and Dr. Libka, you can tell us if we're right, it's about 10 to 12 additional children we need to offset the
10.
cost. Is that the correct number?
10 children.
Okay. And we thought that the gift to each family versus child shows fairness to everybody then, that the first parents get something that they didn't get because they don't have second and third children. We also thought that we need to address attracting and welcoming diversity. I was in the 4th grade the other day, and we were talking about something, and I looked around and I thought, there wasn't an African-American child in the class that dealt, that I could even mention as whatever the topic was, I don't remember, but we don't have a lot of diversity. In families, the one thing that would really help with our attracting new students is families need to speak of their affection and their pride in the school, because if your friends know that you like your school, your children are doing well, it's helping them grow up into great children, that will influence them. So we are the first line of marketing, I think.
Thank you very much. In our last group,
We agreed with the plan. We talked a little bit more about logistical issues, but we did say that it was encouraging to bring the school in alignment with other schools with those second and third children, to keep it there. And we were just happy to see that it's going down and that we're working hard to keep this a competitive school for children to come to.
so there was a question actually raised in the report from Group 2 that was somewhat addressed in terms of numbers of students. If we don't get the numbers of students, like from Church Council's perspective, you guys have been through this many times, the years when the school doesn't make budget, it comes out of somewhere else. We need to cut back on another ministry. And that's kind of how it works. Right now, the budget hasn't been approved for next year as far as I know. I think that's later in this season. And but the Church Council voted with this plan with hope and faith that we would continue to, we would actually turn the tide and grow the school 10 students going into next year. If not, then it comes out of the budget from other ministries. And also within the school where we have the potential to freeze an area of expense, We hope that you will be interested in assisting in a variety of areas. The school improvement committees seem to be doing a lot of hands-on, kind of boots on the street, doing some things too as well, promoting and marketing. And we believe that's going to help us as we move forward and, again, get those 10 and then some more students beyond that. I believe that I'm so proud of the work of particularly those that have studied the competitive analysis. And we have numbers that, as I meet with principals on a regular basis throughout the western suburbs, they would drool over. And we actually are sharing our numbers with other schools too, in a number of categories where it's relevant. Because again, while I talk about us being competitors, we are partners. We want to share the gospel effectively throughout the world. So even those that have larger staffs, don't have access to the kind of information and the help that we have through dedicated parents and congregation members who are parents of graduates or maybe never had a child attend here. So thank you all for being here today. Oh, Ann?
A quick question. The upcoming auction, where are those proceeds going to go this year?
Oh, it's technology and grant and aid, still the same two areas. For next year, it'll be technology, enhancements, and grant and aid.
Are we ever, I know we don't ever get caught up with technology, but do we always have to do these two same things, or are there other options?
I don't think we do always have to do that, but that was the plan at the outset for this time. And just as a reminder, last year's auction netted $68,000. It'd be wonderful to move that very soon to a $100,000 event with a couple hundred students. That's $500 each. It's a big deal. It's a really fun evening. The deadline was extended to Monday for the lowest price for a ticket. So encourage your friends today, if you can, Monday to register, and then if they don't make the deadline, certainly to still come and join us. And to bring gifts. We have, the gifts are coming in, so we have some really nice things to auction off in the silent auction, the wine and dinner pairings. We're up to nearly 30 dinners that have been donated from restaurants. And we could use some more live auction and some more dinner gift certificates. So thank you for bringing that up. The auction is March 14th. Hope to see you there. Have a wonderful day. Let's applaud each other. Thank you.